So now we move on to episode 0.2, take one.
Ayun, take one, oo.
All right.
Kasi ano, explain natin bakit may mga take one, take two tayo,
All
'di ba?
right. Sige, go ahead.
Ah, okey, explain lang namin. So, siyempre up namin 'to sa YouTube and sa Spotify, 'di ba? And, pero we want to make sure kasi kaya kami naka-FB Live that, um may interaction. We get to talk to the people that like just listen to us live on Facebook and on TikTok. So moving forward, ganito yung gagawin namin na approach. Talaga direct, walang cut-cut. I mean, diretso
Yeah,
record, podcast, and then
very
that's it, di ba?
impromptu.
Very impromptu.
So it's
And
very authentic also because it's
yun yung word,
unedited.
yeah. Yun yung gusto ko rin i-highlight because one of the key things that we've agreed when we discussed this, Kyla, was we would be very, very authentic. Talaga straight to the point lang. Kung ano opinion mo, that's it. Tapos, I mean, we may have different opinions with stuff, pero we both agree that it's a discussion.
Mhm.
'Di ba? We'll talaga we will really go deep with some ideas and this is something that we see would be very very fun moving forward.
Mhm.
Tapos
Mhm.
mag-interview din tayo, Kyla, 'di ba?
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah,
we'll be
mag-interview din
inviting
tayo.
guests later on for our succeeding episodes.
Mhm.
Maybe in the first few episodes, like the first episode is gonna be aired on Saturday. That's my
Oh,
birthday, so please
birthday.
come back on August 17th, Saturday, 8
Mhm.
p.m. So that's gonna be our episode one. We're gonna announce the topic within the week. All right.
Tama, tama. Ipo-post namin yan sa Facebook. Pero since
Yes.
this is episode point one, go na tayo.
All right.
And ang goal namin ngayong episode point one is very, very simple. It is to get to know more about Kyla. So,
Yes.
introductions to. Siyempre,
Mhm.
if we're going to go deep with the podcast and discussions, of course, we have to understand yung background ng ating host, di ba?
Sino ba
Makilala
naman kami,
natin siya
di
na,
ba?
makilala muna natin.
All
So,
right.
Kyla, yeah, of course, tell us like, what's your story?
All right. So in episode two, I did mention that among my skin philosophy patients, for example, they're more familiar with me as an aesthetic dermatologist, a functional medicine doctor, and a self-love coach. However, I prefer to discuss who I am right now in a more spiritual perspective because this is my passion project. And for me, this is a work of love, an endeavor of love. So here goes. I am a soul who specifically chose this body, who specifically chose the family that I'm going to be born into, who specifically chose the circumstances that I would be born into, who specifically chose all the experiences that I'm gonna have, whether good or bad. My soul chose all of these because this lifetime is like a classroom of life. And I am meant to definitely learn lessons from this. And I am meant to also experience emotions of joy, love, peace, excitement, and other emotional and other like positive things. So with that, I would like to like use the metaphor shared with me by a friend that, you know, I'm just rolling in cotton candy and mud in this lifetime. So I accept both the good and the bad because it's all part of the human experience. Like it's part of this great artwork, so to speak. And I just want to share like what I learned from the Mind Valley Super Coach experience that I attended last year. Like we we are all like spiritual beings, and there's that inner voice inside us that keeps on whispering. Now sometimes we listen to that voice, yet sometimes we also prefer to follow like what society has told us to do, or we go by logic instead of listening to that inner voice or that intuition. And more often than not, when we don't listen to that inner voice, I would like to call that voice the higher self. The universe like gives us like a slap in the back when we don't listen. So when we experience, for example, hardships or like negative emotions, it's the universe's way of redirecting us towards the right path. So those experiences are called kenshos, you know, those hard, painful, and saddening experiences that, you know, lead us to deeper realizations. On the other hand, we can also learn from beautiful experiences called satoris, like when we experience emotionally elevated states, whenever we are inspired, whenever we feel loved, whenever we are at peace, we find greater meaning in life and we find the will to keep going. So those experiences are called satoris. In my life, I've experienced all of those, and like assuming that I'm gonna live until the age of 80, for the first part of my life, I felt that, you know, my life has been full of shows. Like I felt that my life was so hard. And I was actually diagnosed with major depressive disorder when I was about 24 years of age. I was in a very dark place because I was in medical school then, and I actually didn't like what I was doing. You know, as a kid, I've always been very obedient. You know, I always follow the rules. And like, I was born into a Catholic family, and like my grandmother was quite religious, and like she would always threaten me that I would go to hell if I don't do this, if I don't do that, you know. So I was, I would say, like a good Christian soldier. However, I was acting out of obligation, out of fear, rather than out of love. So that's like cheap fuel. So by the age of 23, 24, I felt burned out. So because I couldn't find anything inspiring in my life anymore, you know, there was actually a point when I wished that, you know, the world would end or my life would simply end. I mean, I didn't actually try to hurt myself. It's just that I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, since I was enrolled at the UP College of Medicine, so our orientation was traditional Western medicine. So what's the solution? Every time you feel burned out, every time you feel sad, every time you feel anxious, you just suck it up and soldier on or take meds. So I actually went to a psychiatrist and I was given antidepressants. I mean, my mom is here right now, and like she was trying to convince me not to share the fact that I took antidepressants when I was younger. However, I feel that a lot of us have unacknowledged loneliness, unacknowledged anxiety, unacknowledged fears. That's why I just want people to know that it's okay to admit that you're also vulnerable. And in spite of those vulnerabilities or those vulnerable moments, you know, we can always find a solution. Like I searched for it in different avenues. Like I underwent a lot of like personal development seminars, trainings. In fact, that's where I met Ken Ken. Like we were both students at Mind Valley. Our teacher was Paul McKenna. He's like the hypnotherapist of David Beckham, right? So like that's I realized that there are lots of resources out there that can address mental, emotional, and spiritual baggages. It's just that they're not often talked about. Like, in fact, I was a bit hesitant, to embark on this passion project because like maybe I'd be putting a target on my back because like my med school friends might, criticize me for saying that medicine is not the drugs. I mean, pharmacologic medications are not the solution to everything. It's just that I'm more confident now to talk about this because I have experienced firsthand the healing effects of meditation, doing the inner work, lifestyle change, and all these other integrative medical practices. That's why I'm confident when I say drugs are not the solution to everything. And sorry, I'm so talkative, no? Pero I just
Go lang. I mean, yan nga eh. I mean, it's really nice and feel free to
yeah,
open up. I mean, um, people are learning from you right now. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. So, with your permission, everyone, I would like to continue some, you know, pieces of experiences that I have found useful. Uh, and one of them is like the movie Soul. I'm not sure if all of you have already seen it. So spoilers ahead. So just press mute if you don't want to hear about parts of this movie. So anyway, that movie highlighted the difference between purpose and spark. Like I was a competitive kid. So I've always thought that, succeeding in life meant, getting like a high paying job, making lots of money, traveling and all that stuff. Um yes, these ambitions still bring me excitement. It's just that s- purpose is not the same as spark because you can find spark even while waiting for the fruition of your ambitions. Like you can find spark even in simple things. Like you can find joy in daily life. You can look into the eyes of your loved ones or even your dog just to find love. And you can find peace as long as you take the time to actually give yourself that space. So that's the difference between purpose and spark for me. So that movie really made me cry super because I felt that for the longest time, like I was like pushing myself too hard, yet my primary driving forces were like fear, obligation, guilt, shame, or even anger. Like sometimes when when we feel disappointed, we get angry, right? And like while it's true that anger or disappointment or fears can also motivate us to do better, these are like cheap fuel. The body cannot constantly run on overdrive. When cortisol, the stress hormone, is always up, like it's gonna knock out the immune system. It's gonna cause cardiovascular health problems, and it's gonna drive you insane. So while these negative emotions are part of life, we can come up with ways to manage them. So basically, my painful life experiences led me to this quest. And I just told myself there has to be a better way of living. We can't live on constant fear or in constant fear, constant anxiety, constant loneliness. So, there. By healing myself, I realized that I I may be able to inspire other people to embark on a similar journey. There. Thank you.
Ayun. Salamat, salamat, Kyla.
You're
Okay. So
welcome.
yeah, for I think for our friends or viewers that are watching, I mean it's also a nice time to like leave a comment for Kyla.
Mm.
Yeah, for sharing her like story and journey
Thank you
to
for
all of us.
listening.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
thanks,
allowing me
thanks.
to share, and thank you for holding space for me. I really
Mm.
appreciate you.
Yan, hi Ruru, sabi ni Ruru, we love it, Dr. Kyla.
Thank
Mataas yun
you.
yan.
Thank you.
Love that movie din daw. Yeah.
Heart.
So yan, syempre,
And
ayun,
bye.
any like message to similar to people who are also going that same path or to those who are just starting to like make their
Uh,
own journeys, Kyla?
uh,
What's your message for them?
just be authentic and follow your own bliss. Like, you can only find that by listening to your own internal GPS. Like, when you still your hearts and minds, that inner voice will eventually reach your ears, your head, and then your heart, and you will know what to do. All right. So that
Okay.
concludes our episode zero point 0.2.